Have you ever heard somebody say that there's a front coming through? There's a cold front or a warm front. Maybe you've seen a picture on a weather map, looks something like that, and there's all these lines and shapes and colors, and you don't really even know what they mean. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We'll talk about weather fronts. What is a front? It would not surprise you if I said that the air over a desert tends to be hot. So we have hot air here. All right, and we all know that air moves. We have wind. So the air that is hot over a desert doesn't always stay over a desert. That air starts to move. We know hot air rises, so the hot air tends to stay up here. And this line right here, where there's a difference between the hot and the cooler air, that's what a front is. A front is the front of this hot air. There are four types of fronts. So on the top left here, you see that we have blue with triangles. You could probably guess that blue would mean a cold front. And what that means is you have cooler air back here, and you have warmer air up here, and that cold air is moving this direction. So I always think of those triangles like teeth. I always think that the cold front is trying to give you frostbite, and it moves in the direction of the triangles. On the top right, we have red with semicircles. So you could probably guess that that would be a warm front. And so you have warmer air back here behind the front, and then you have cooler air in front of it. And that warm air is moving in the direction of the semicircles. I think of the semicircles like suns. That's how I can remember that it's warm. The bottom left is kind of a mix of those two. You can see it's red and blue, and it is a stationary front. And stationary means not moving. That's exactly what it is. You have warm air on this side, and then you have cool air on this side, and they're just kind of stuck. They're not moving at all. And the last one on the bottom right is purple, and you can see that it's got triangles and uh, semicircles, and this is called an occluded front. All right, this is probably the most confusing of the three of these, but we'll explain it for you. Now, here's the important thing to remember about all of these different types of fronts. What kind of weather do you get at them? It changes a little bit with each type of front, but they all have one thing in common. If there is water in the air, they are all going to bring you precipitation. All right, and what is precipitation? It could be rain, it could be snow, it could be sleet, but they're going to bring you water from the sky in some ways. Cold fronts are probably my favorite front to learn about. And so let's say we have some grass down here. I like learning about weather because weather is one of those things that we're all going to experience. We can say, "Hey, I'm never going to need to know about a valence electron," and maybe that's true. But everybody is going to walk outside at some point. So let's say we have some cooler air, a cooler air mass, and we know that hot air rises and cold air sinks. So as this air mass is moving this direction, it's going to be sinking towards the ground because it's cooler than the other air. So it comes through looking like a ramp. And what happens is we have warmer air over here that it's bumping into, and warmer air usually has more water in it. Think about it, it gets humid during the summer. And so that warmer air gets pushed up this cooler air like a ramp. And when it does it, that warmer air cools down. It can't hold the water that it used to, and it starts to build a cloud, a cumulonimbus cloud. And as you look at that cloud, we've seen these clouds before, and we start thinking, well, that looks kind of like a thundercloud, which is exactly what it is. It's a cumulonimbus thundercloud, and it starts getting darker and darker, and we see those big, tall, dark clouds, and we start thinking, uh-oh, it's time to get inside. This isn't going to be very good. It's about to get really nasty out. At cold fronts, you get heavy rain, and you get lightning. If they're severe enough, you could get tornadoes. So at a cold front, you get really stormy weather. If you've ever done this experiment with a glass pan before and a mug of cold water and a mug of hot water, you can see a cold front in action. So this is cooler water in here, and this is warmer water in here. And it makes the water above it warmer and cooler as well. So what you can start to see here is you have a cold front forming right there that's moving this direction, which is exactly what we showed right here, a cold front moving. And then I have a picture here of a cold front actually hitting a city. You have cold air that's coming through just like that. And the warm air, or the warm water in this case, gets pushed up. The warm air gets pushed up. It forms these clouds. And here you can see these clouds, and you can look and imagine that's probably going to be pretty stormy in this town. All right. So we're going to be talking about cold fronts. I want you to think cold fronts are stormy. Right? Cold fronts are stormy. In a warm front, the warm air, you have warmer air over here. Warm air tends to rise. Right? So warm air comes through like this, moving this direction. And this is a side view as I look at things. And you start to get these big overcast kind of days. And so we're in a cold front, right? Remember, in a cold front we had some pretty severe weather. In a warm front, what we have is just that light, drizzly, maybe it's going to be raining all day long. All right? So if I look at a warm front, the warm air is slowly rising, making some overcast clouds. All right, and we have long, drizzly rain. So drizzly light rain. All right, the next type of front is called a stationary front, and the word stationary means not moving. So you can see that there's these semicircles. Over here is the warmer air, and on the other side is the cooler air. Now these two air masses, they've kind of pushed up against one another, but there's not enough force, there's not enough wind to make either of them move. So they're just kind of stuck right now next to one another. If we look at that from a side view, what you can see is that where they're stuck together, you end up getting these clouds. Right? So you have clouds in here, and they're not moving. So if you happen to be living right underneath where they're not moving, you're getting a lot of rain until something happens, either the warm front or the cool front. Usually the cool air gets a little bit stronger and it pushes the warm air out. But until that happens, you're just sitting there and it could be raining for days and days and days at a stationary front. So stationary front, you have prolonged rain. You have rain or precipitation until it becomes unstationary. The last front is a special case. It's the occluded front. And occluded fronts, what happens when they get crashed together, when two cold fronts crash together. So if we have some cooler air out here, this cool air mass, and we have some warm air right here, this would normally be what a warm front looks like. But if we had cold air, a colder front that was moving quickly this way, and it moved so quickly that it eventually caught up with the other cold front, it would cause this warm air to be trapped up here. So you have cold air back here and cold air up here, and that warm air is kind of trapped now above all that cool air, which causes it to form clouds. Whenever you have warm air cooling down, you form clouds, and so you end up with rain happening. And that rain's going to happen as long as that occluded front is over the area until that warm air runs out of water. Now the occluded front, the symbol at an occluded front is in purple. It's the only one that's in purple. And it is triangles and semicircles, triangles and semicircles. All right, and that occluded front is moving that direction. That's warm air trapped up on top of it, and you're getting some rain as that occluded front moves through. All right, in summary, fronts are the boundaries between different temperatures of air, cool air and warm air. All fronts bring some sort of precipitation. All right, if it's cold enough, then it'll be snow. It could be rain. It could be sleet. Cold fronts are blue with triangles on a weather map. Cold fronts bring stormy weather. So whenever we see news about tornadoes, thunderstorms, we know that that was a cold front. Cold fronts come through really quickly. Warm fronts are red with semicircles on a weather map. They don't move as fast, and they bring drizzly light precipitation. Stationary fronts are a mix. They're red semicircles and blue triangles on a weather map. Stationary fronts happen when two air masses are pushed up against one another, but they don't have enough force to make them move. Stationary fronts can cause long rain for as long as they're stuck there. And the last one are occluded fronts. They're purple triangles and semicircles together, all purple on a weather map. Occluded fronts happen when two cold air masses collide and they trap warm air up above them. Occluded fronts also bring precipitation. So look for those on the news and you'll understand what's going on.